Well, we had a crazy sight and we came down and there were some warthogs that were running, and behind me you can see there's a whole pride of lions and they were chasing the warthogs, but it seems as though the warthog managed to get away. So the warthog ran off into the distance. The lions are all chasing after it. It seems as though they've missed though, unfortunately. And in amongst all of this, we also have some elephants as well. So it's everybody is here. It's not just the warthogs, there's lions and elephants, and it's all just going crazy. So they were chasing the warthogs, but I think because they were sleepy, they managed to, well, they missed the warthogs, to be honest. So I'm just going to go forward a little bit so that you can see the rest of the pride, because there's a big male here, there's females, there's cubs, everybody is all together, and they've been resting probably because it's hot. Like I was saying, it is a hot day, and so they like to find some shade where they can lie down. And the warthogs were just trotting along. The warthogs didn't know the lions were here, and the lions then went chasing after them quickly because they saw an opportunity. And lions are very opportunistic, which means that as soon as they see any sort of chance to hunt an animal, they will chase it, which is very lucky for the warthogs that they saw the lions when they did and didn't run straight towards them. And it's only the reason that they saw the lions is because an elephant broke a branch and one of the lions lifted its head because it didn't actually see the warthogs. But there you go, there's some of the cubs that are sitting on the road. So there's a big female that's walking away from us, and then the older cubs, which is the one closest to us. And in this pride has got 4 tiny brand new little babies as well. So I'm hoping that they're going to be here too, and then we'll see the big male lion also hopefully in this area. But we're going to have to wait for that lion to move, the one that's in the sun, because until that one moves, I'm not going to be able to get to the rest of the pride. Here comes one of the other females. You can see this is the female that is the mom at the moment of the small cubs, because she's still got milk. You see she's got a bit of milk that she's producing, and that's because those little cubs, they need to be able to drink milk in order to survive. They're not eating meat just yet. They're still a little bit on the young side. But let's try and go forward, because it seems as though they're all going towards the shade, and it's a massive big tree that they're going to be able to sleep under, and it was the perfect place for some lions to have a really good rest. So I'm sure they're going to be very happy here. Now what I want to try and do is try and get into a place where we can hopefully see everybody as well as the daddy lion as well. Ashla, you're wondering how fast a lion can run. Well, a lion can run at the same speed as those impalas, so at about 80 kilometers an hour when the lion is running. The male lion's not quite as fast because they're a little bit bigger. So in miles, we're saying about 48, 49 miles an hour is how fast that they can run. So they're very, very quick. But when it's hot like this, they're not going to run for very far, because it means that they're going to get too hot too quickly, and it's just they can't really do it. And so they go and they find some shade and they lie down. The big male lion is the one lying, but look, they're the 4 cute little babies. Now those little babies are now, I think they're about 3 months old, so they're still very small. It's only now that they're starting to kind of come out of where they've been hiding, because the mother will hide them in what's called a den site. And so the den site is a place where these little tiny cubs, because when they're born they can't see, they're blind, they can't do anything for themselves, that's where she leaves them, and she'll then go and hunt, get food, and then she comes back and she provides milk for these little ones. But they now have gotten to the age where they're able to come out and start walking around a little bit more. But how cute are they? Look at the little yawn and the tiny teeth. They are very cute little things. Adeline, you're wondering if lions' tongues are spiky. Well, Adeline, I think that you might have a cat at home, because if you've got a cat at home, you know that your domestic cat has got a little rough tongue. And yes, so lions' tongues are the same as your domestic cat. They have these little hairs that grow on them, and those hairs are very rough, and it's basically like little spikes. And the reason why they need that is for 2 things. One is to be able to groom themselves. So when we say groom themselves, is to lick and to be able to keep their fur nice and clean and get rid of any fur. You know that you'll often brush your dog or your cat to try and clean them, and so it's the same thing with the lions. That tongue means that they can clean themselves and make sure that they get rid of any loose fur, as well as parasites. Now, when I say parasites, I'm talking about ticks, and ticks are a little animal that lives on the grass, and as the lions walk past, it goes on and it feeds off the blood, and it can be very bad for the lions and can make them feel quite ill. And so they have to groom those off. And the other thing they can get is what is called mites. Now mites, you'll see on some of these lions that we have in this pride, they've got these mites on them, and it causes them to get very itchy, and then they scratch, and that makes a big black marking on them. And so the situation is that they need to be able to groom like that. The other thing is when they're eating, they eat meat, and there's often meat that is on bones, and we know we use our fingers sometimes if we're eating a chop or something like that, and we try and get rid of that meat. It's the same thing with the lions. They need to use something to be able to lick the meat off the bones, and so they will use their tongue that is very, very rough, and they can then lick on those bones, and then they can get off all the bits of meat and be able to stay, nice and full from it. So the tongue is very important for the lions to be able to survive. They need it all the time to keep themselves clean and make sure that they are nice and washed, as well as to be able to feed nicely. Now, while the little cubs are sitting here, there is a big male lion, so the daddy lion is just in front of me as well. So I'm going to just roll forward a little bit for you. Oh, sorry, little ones. So the little one's got a bit of a fight because I went over a branch, but we should be okay once we get into this situation. There we go. Now, Jackson, you want to know if the lions have any predators. So yes, I mean, a big male lion like this, the only thing he really has to worry about is either other male lions or big groups of hyenas. He might get attacked by big groups of hyenas, but that would be very, very, very rare. Little cubs that we saw just now that were lying here, those little cubs, well, they have a lot of predators. So they will have snakes, birds of prey, so like eagles will go after them. They will have leopard, hyena, wild dog, cheetah. Cheetah would be but probably not really much of a predator for them. And then also other lions. And the reason why other lions will kill little cubs is because if they're from a different pride, or if it's a male that is or a dad that is from a different pride, he doesn't want those cubs around, because it means that the cubs will live and he has to use all his energy to defend them, even though they're not his. And a male lion or a daddy lion doesn't have a very long time that he's in charge of a pride. He can only probably be in charge of a pride. Normally they're in charge for about 4 or 5 years, and so it's a very short time, and so he can't sit and protect other males' cubs or other daddies' cubs, and so he actually sometimes will kill them, so that female will then produce cubs with him, and he can have cubs of his own that he can protect and defend and make sure that his bloodline is the one that goes forward. Look at the little ones climbing. Alicia, no, the lion's color doesn't change as they get older. I'm going to try and just go a little bit further forward for you, Alicia. Just hold on for me 2 seconds, because I've got a bush in the way for Senzo and the little cubs that are playing with their mom. And I want to show you that the cubs are the same color as their mom. So even though their mom is older, the cubs are still the same color and have the same appearance. So they don't change color too much. The only ones that will change color are the daddy lions. And the reason why the daddy lions change color is because they've got big manes, and they will then get this much more black coloration. You see there, they got long hair around their throat and around their head, and that then starts to turn black as they get older and more dominant, and you'll find a situation where they're able to then show other lions that we are strong, that I am a strong male, that I have a pride, and that I'm able to keep my territory safe from other animals. And so that's why the male lions tend to have much bigger, blacker coloration bodies than what you see from the females. But the cubs, if they're a female cub, they won't change color at all throughout their life. They stay the same. You can see everybody's very sleepy, and there was a bit of commotion because of the warthog and a bit of movement because of the warthog, but now everyone is quite tired and it's time to have a really good rest for the next little bit. I think they're going to probably rest most of the afternoon. It's only when it gets a little bit cooler and the shade starts to come down and it's not as hot in the sun that these little ones, or all of them actually, should start moving around and doing something. There is a water hole not far from us with a bit of water where I think they'll go and drink a little bit later, and so for now it will be sleeping and then they'll move a little bit later. Jeremy, you want to know if lions roar when they are little? No, so they don't make a roaring sound. Listen. So they... Can you hear that? So lion cubs will squeak, really, when they're little. There's not much roaring that comes from them. Only when they get a bit older and their lungs get a bit bigger and their voice box gets bigger can they then be able to roar. But you see, look, they're trying to look for milk. So they're going to their aunties to see if their aunties have milk for them, but they don't. So they're going to have to just go and say hello and make sure that they greet everybody. And this is all part of being in a pride, is that lions like to be able to sit with one another and groom each other, and when they rub up like that, it's all just to basically greet each other and to make sure that the bond between them is very strong. It's like if you want to go and you're feeling a little bit down and your mom gives you a hug, it's the same thing with these guys, is that they go and they give each other hugs to be able to sort of keep the bond between the family very strong. Now, our big cats are sleeping and are very tired, and I think our little ones eventually are going to lie down because mom is very sleepy. And so while we sit and wait for these guys to start getting up and maybe moving, let's go back to Scott all the way in the Masai Mara, and he's got another cat. I am indeed. I am sitting with these lions and they're now having a little afternoon drink. So they're obviously a little bit hungry and maybe they didn't get lunch, and it's now time to try and get some milk and to try and feed as much as possible. So you'll find that these guys are going to settle now. They all eat like this, and then once they finish feeding, you'll find that they're again going to have a really long nap, because when a little cub has got lots of milk in its tummy, then it gets very full and it has a situation where it gets quite sleepy and quite tired. It's like us, if we have a big meal, then we like to try and find somewhere nice and comfortable, and then we have a little siesta or a little sleep. And it'll be the same for the cubs. You can see mom, she's quite happy. She's in some shade, and so she's happy to have the cubs suckling. If she didn't want the cubs to suckle and she was uncomfortable, you'd find that she would then just growl at them and she'll get up and move somewhere else. And so she's happy for the little ones to have a little feed for now and is completely at ease. Nasia, you're wondering if lions have teeth when they are born. Yes, they do. They have little milk teeth, is what we call them, but they are small little teeth, and they look the same as the adult teeth, but just much smaller, and they're like little needles. They're actually very sharp, and when they bite you, it hurts quite a bit. So they do have little teeth when they're born, and then they will lose those teeth and will get their adult teeth a little bit later in life. That's normally at about anywhere between sort of 10 months and a year old. That's when they get those new teeth, or their adult teeth, and those will be nice and strong and big. So they do have little teeth when they're first born. They're very small, obviously, when they're tiny cubs, but these little ones will have sharp little teeth already. And like I said, they will be quite sore, and you'll find sometimes mom will get a bit upset. Even if they're suckling like this, every now and then they might bite her when they're trying to get more milk. So if the milk is not coming enough into their mouths, then they bite her, and then that makes the milk come a little bit more. And if they bite, it sometimes is a little too sore for the mom, and she'll then stand up and walk off. So their teeth are still very sharp. But you see how they're kind of fighting at the moment to try and find a place, because their mom only has 4 places where they can get milk from, and so they all have to push each other to try and get a spot that is comfortable. So one is on top of the other one, and you'll find that the one had to come from the other side to try and get its way in. Tatiana, you're wondering if lions' noses are wet like a dog's nose. Well, I'm not sure. I've never really stroked a lion's nose, because lions are animals that would probably, in all likelihood, hurt you if you tried to stroke their nose too much. But, I mean, I would imagine if they've licked it, then yes, it'll be a little bit damp. But otherwise, if you look at their noses, they look as though they're quite dry most of the time. So I don't think they'd have too much of a wet nose. I think it's a situation, it's only if they've been drinking or if they've licked their nose, then it gets a little bit wet. Sometimes on cold mornings, you'll find they have a little bit of a sort of sniffle, and there's a little bit of kind of stuff that comes out their nose, but most of the time their noses are quite dry. Now, Taylor, who's still driving around in the Masai Mara, has got a beautiful bird. I think it was Taylor, maybe it was Noel. No, it was Noel, sorry. I thought it was Taylor, but then I thought in my mind that Noel must be the one. But anyway, Noel is out and about, and she's got a beautiful coloured bird, and I'm sure you're all going to love just how many colours it's got. Well, they're all still resting at this stage. I suppose just mom is up. She heard an elephant trumpet in the distance, and so she's just been listening and making sure that there's no elephants coming this way. And the reason why is because elephants are actually quite dangerous to these cubs. The cubs are still very small, and if an elephant tries to chase the females, they might be able to catch the little baby cubs, and they might hurt them, because elephants are very scared of lions, and so they try and protect themselves, and they could hurt the cubs. So that's why she's just a little bit nervous of being able to to try and kind of, when she hears them, and making sure that she doesn't need to move her cubs. Now, I can't see the elephants anymore. I saw them just now briefly when the lions were chasing the warthog. The elephants ran the other way because I think they got a fright with the lions running, and so I don't know where they are. They sound like they're very far away now. I could just hear them trumpeting way in the distance, so I don't think we're going to see them from where we are now, and I don't want to leave the lions in case they decide to move. So the lions seem as though they've gone kind of southwards and away from us at this stage. But there's Mom. You can see she's starting to fall asleep. She's very comfortable with the fact that the elephants are around. She knows that they're far now and she doesn't have to worry too much. Also, the little cubs have all had a snack, and now you can see they're all sleeping. Aiden, you're wondering about whether lions like to eat, well, can eat crocodiles, or do the crocodiles eat lions? Well, both, actually. So I have seen a lion eating a crocodile, and I've also seen crocodiles eating lions. So it just depends on who is who and where they are. So a lion and a crocodile on land, it also depends obviously on the size of the crocodile and the size of the lion. But if you've got a crocodile on land, then the lion is much more likely to be able to kill the crocodile than the crocodile kill the lion. But if the lion is in water, then it's very different, because the crocodile, that's where its home is. It can swim very, very well, and the lioness or lions don't swim as well as a crocodile does, and that's when the crocodile can kill the lions. And I've actually seen a lioness with a little cub in its mouth, and a crocodile come and grab the cub out. And like I say, I've also seen a male lion carrying a crocodile in his mouth as well. So it does happen. Both of them will kill each other. It just depends on where they are. If they're in water, then it's the crocodile's place, and the crocodile generally has the upper hand, and if they're on land, then it's the lions that have the upper hand. But everybody now is going to be very sleepy, I think. I don't think we're going to see too much movement for them just yet. I think the little ones, now that they've had a meal, they're going to be quite tired, and unless something comes like warthogs again, or maybe impalas, like the little deer animal that we saw right at the beginning, or these elephants come here, I think everyone's going to try and nap. It's still very warm, so the sun is still quite high, and it means that these lions are going to wait and try and hope for the sun to go down a little bit before they actually maybe go for a little drink. And I was saying that there is water not far from us, just behind these lions, just on the other side of where the shade is. There is a little water point over there where they can get fresh water, and you'll find that they'll go drink there as the evening comes in. Ryan, the reason the males have a mane like this is for protection. And so when a male lion is in charge of a pride, he has to fight with other male lions to keep his cubs safe. And so if he gets bitten around the throat, then he's going to have a situation where it's going to hurt a lot, or could potentially kill him. And so that mane acts as a padding, so if another male bites him, it's less likely that that male will kill him by being able to get to the throat or to the heart or to the chest area. And so the mane helps with protecting those places. The other thing a mane is for is to show how big and strong he is. So basically, if he's got any females, like these females here, if he has a very small mane, then the females don't want him around. They know that he's not the biggest and the strongest, and they will leave him alone. If he's got a nice big mane and he's strong and he's healthy and it's dark, it means that he's probably one of the biggest lions in the area. And if he's the biggest lion in the area, he's good to have around, because he's going to protect them and protect the cubs when he has them. So that's why he has a mane. One is to protect himself, and two is to show all the other lions that he's a very strong, powerful animal, and that will make the females want to stay with him and also chase the other males away. Now, unfortunately, it is that time of the day where we have to say goodbye to all of you. I hope that you've had a wonderful afternoon with us, and that you really enjoyed learning all about the African animals, and I hope that you're going to have a wonderful day at school, because, well, I hope that there's not too much homework, really, because no one really likes homework that much. And so I hope that it's a great day, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you, and hopefully we'll see you all again soon. For the rest of you, well, we continue our journey through the wilderness, and so while we sit with our lions this afternoon and see how they get on, because we've been left all by ourselves, we're going to go back to Taylor and see what she's been up to in the Mara over the last little. She eventually get in this direction. The way that the wind is blowing from our left to right. So let's see, there's a young elephant coming now. You can see the lions have all popped their heads up to listen. It's going to come across the road fairly shortly, so we're going to have a situation where the elephant will pop out seems like a youngish elephant. I don't know. It's difficult to see. It's behind a whole bunch of bushes, but it looks like it's going to come there. It actually can just see it's feeding now. So it's decided it's not actually too worried at this stage about too much. It gave a little trumpet because of a car that came past, but there you can see the naughty trunk behind us and well, behind the tree, and they're just feeding at the moment. But like I say, I don't think they're going to come towards these lions. The way that the wind is blowing from north to south at the moment, which means that the wind is actually not blowing anywhere near these elephants, and I think the elephants are going to go over towards Twin Dams and just go and drink there and not really disturb these lions at all. The lions are completely unperturbed by all of this. They heard a little trumpet, and it obviously wakes them up because they want to see if they're the ones going to be chased. But at the end of the day, when they see that it's an elephant just walking past, they're not really too worried about it at all. But you can definitely see that some of the young ones are still interested and still want to watch and have a little look around. And once they've seen that it's a youngish elephant and it's not an elephant that they need to worry about, then you'll find a situation where they all go back to sleep and take it very easy. But how cool is this? We've got lions, we've got elephants, and like I say, there was a sighting of a leopard not far from here a little bit earlier in the day. And so who knows, maybe a leopard arrives in the chaos of this afternoon as well, and we'll just get it all happening. It was ridiculous because as we saw that, there comes the elephant that I was talking about. You can see it's looks like a young boy that maybe, actually no, a young female should I say, sorry about that, that is just popped out. And so it's a small grouping. I wonder if it's maybe not Short Trunk's herd. I didn't actually look at the female, well, the big female in the group very carefully, but maybe it is Short Trunk's herd. I know Short Trunk is obviously 4 individuals, and it's the very small one and then goes up from there, and that would be about the same as what I saw crossing the road. So maybe it is Short Trunk's herd. I honestly didn't pay enough attention to the lead female. She was kind of behind the others, and I was watching the smaller ones actually, if I'm honest. And so maybe, just maybe, it is her herd. It would be nice to have them. But like I said, to have these guys all together in the same place, it just goes to show you on a hot day where you've got water, it is the best place to be. So even though we had some rain over the last 2 days, the rain that we have had is just so little that it's not enough to really have filled up any of the small little wallows. It was only about 4 millimeters of rain, and so all it did was just kind of make everything a bit damp, but it actually hasn't done anything in the way of being able to fill up water points. And so animals are still being drawn to these bigger water sections like Twin Dams to be able to find water and to be able to sustain themselves in hot weather like this. And it's amazing to have, well, both lions and elephants back. It's been a long time since we've had either one of them, and particularly together. It's been a very long time since I've seen Ellies and lions in the same sighting or the same place in Djuma. Now, the Styx cubs, it's interesting. I've just been sitting and looking at them and just thinking about how they look and whether or not they're getting better or not. I feel like they are still got signs of mange, but they definitely are looking a little bit better than what they did maybe 2-3 months ago. 2-3 months ago, they didn't look that fantastic. There's 1 or 2 of them that still looks a bit kind of mangy, but the others are all starting to heal a little bit. So there are scabs on them, and you do see a bit of scabbing on their joints and particularly around their sort of armpit areas and around their ears, but they are healing a lot better than what I thought they would be, and they're looking a lot better than I thought. So nice to actually see, and nice to be able to work out that they, as long as we get a bit of rain and some moisture in the air, it seems as though they will eventually be able to sort themselves out, and that mange will slowly but surely disappear. Now, in terms of sexing of all these cubs, I'm still not 100% sure of the sex of all of them. I mean, it's difficult, particularly with the little ones. It's really quite tough unless they lie with their backs to us and we can see just underneath their tail. And it's going to be very, very tough to be able to sex them. Now, I actually also forgot earlier when we first started, well, I don't know if Taylor reminded you, but it is, you can remember that we are back into normal show now, so you can use hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat if you do want to ask any questions. It's great to have the Styx Pride back, and like I say, the reason why it's good to have them is because the Angama Pride has been so non-existent, and they've been moving out of our area and having a situation where they haven't really been spending too much time on Djuma. And so to have a pride that's kind of back in this area and to have small cubs means that hopefully we're going to see a lot more of them over the next little bit. Now, while I sit with my sleepy kitties, I'm hoping that Scotty D, who's had just the most ridiculous 24 hours with his spotted cats, and I believe he's still with them, still hoping, and I'm sure they will be a little bit more action before his day is finished as a good send-off before he goes home. Well, the elephants have changed direction altogether now, and they are slowly but surely kind of moving towards us. Whether or not they're going to get to where we are, I don't know. They're kind of just feeding along at the moment, but if they hold the line that they've been walking from when they played around in the mud, they'll walk straight into this pride. And the lionesses have all kind of gotten up at one point and just looked over their shoulders and are watching. There's been a few yawns, so I don't know if we're going to see a situation where maybe the lionesses decide, hang on, these elephants are now getting a bit close and we're just going to scamper off and try and get these cubs out of here. So there's definitely a situation where it could be sort of a chase happen between the elephants chasing the lions, and we'll just have to see. If the elephants start to turn a little bit more and come to us, then we might have a situation where it'll just explode into all-out chaos. But for now, it seems as though everything's still quite sedate. You can see all the adult lionesses are the ones that are up at the moment. The cubs are fairly sleepy. Tinyo is still fast asleep, but you've got a situation where all of the 3 females are up and looking and just checking and making sure. So they know that elephants are potentially dangerous. They've just checked over their shoulder. They heard the crunching, they heard the movement of bushes, and they're making 100% sure that the distance between them and where the ellies are is safe and that they don't have a problem. At this distance that we're at now, everything is okay. It's not an issue at all. The ellies are feeding. They're not in any way sort of aware that these lions are right here as close as they are, because I can tell you if elephants knew that these lions were as close as they are, they certainly wouldn't have any of it, and they would have been already here trying to trumpet and chase. So the ellies are unaware. The wind is blowing the right direction for the ellies to completely not know that these lions are here, and so the lions are just watching them just to make sure that if they do turn, they're going to have a situation where they don't get kind of themselves into trouble and they can look after the rest of the pride. And also what it might trigger is, because these ellies are around, it might trigger these lions to decide, okay, well, hang on, there's lots of elephants around, let's rather just stand up and march ourselves out of here and get away from this area anyway. So we might see a situation where they are going to just wake up. There's been a lot of yawning of these front 2 females, so you can see they also got their noses into the wind, and what we see with lions is often when they wake up is this is what they do. They put their nose up and they sniff and they smell and they try and pick up the scent that is on the wind to be able to know which direction they're going to go. The good thing for us, you see there's a bit of yawning, and like I say, yawning is often an indicator of them starting to wake up. But the good thing for us is the way that the wind is blowing, this should pull these lions deeper into Djuma. And the reason why I say that is lions very seldom like to walk with the wind blowing from them forwards. They like to have the wind blowing into their face, and the reason why is because as they're going along, obviously if it's blowing over their shoulders, then of course it's making a situation where their scent is blowing forward, and any animal that's in front of them knows that they're coming, so they like to have it blowing into their face. And so if the wind is coming from the north, it's going to hopefully drive them to head further north. I see there's another elephant that's up on the dam wall now, just moving along, so maybe their general direction will be back towards the dam. I'm not sure. They're kind of just ambling around all over the place at the moment, and it just looked like they were starting to come in this direction. And I think if they break this little thicket that they're behind at the moment, they might be able to spot these lions. And the problem with that is if they do spot these lions and they come from where they are now, they're going to chase these lions straight south over the boundary, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to follow them any further. So let's hope that the elephants move the other direction. Let's see. Now, they are starting to move slowly. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this action broadcast. We've got an incredible scene unfolding. So we've got these beautiful elephants that are just coasting through the bush, and there's only a small herd of them, so there's only a few adults and a couple young ones, but in front of these elephants is a whole pride of lions that is lying and watching them. Now I was wondering if the ellies might come towards us, because if the ellies do and they pick up the scent of the lions, it's going to be all pandemonium is going to break loose, because these elephants will not be tolerant of lions being in this area. You can see the ellies are actually moving away now, which is fairly good news, I suppose, because ultimately we don't want the elephants really to be chasing this pride of lions, because they've got tiny small cubs with them at the moment, and obviously the small cubs are they're in a lot of danger actually with something like an elephant. So these little cubs that you see that are fast asleep at the moment and completely unaware of the elephants that are around them are still taking it very easy. But if the elephants come this way, because they're so small, an elephant would probably be able to outrun a little cub like that and be able to get to it. So it's why the females females of the pride are all up at the moment. They're all watching very carefully and making sure that they keep an eye on those elephants. The elephants were angling towards them, but now that the elephants have kind of dropped down towards where there's a little bit of water on the other side, and then we're going to see a situation where the lions might start to go back to sleep a little bit. You can see the eldest female, she's on the right there. You'll notice she's got quite a scarred muzzle at the moment, and so that's all from age and from being out here, as well as the fact that she's got a mite infection at the moment, but that will eventually pass. She'll groom that out, and it's going to be interesting to see whether or not we're going to have a situation where these lions are going to be chased or they're going to just meander off. I think we're going to see a situation where the lions basically might stand up and just move away from these elephants. Ultimately, they know an elephant is far stronger than what they are, and so it's going to be much easier for them to give way and to move out of the area than to take on elephants. But you see this lioness in front, she's starting to yawn now, and yawning is often a sign, an indication that lions might think about moving. So when they're yawning like that, they're getting oxygen into their body, they're getting their blood to start moving, and it just gets rid of all of the kind of lactic acid buildup and the stiffness that builds up over time and sleeping for such long periods, because lions will obviously sleep for a long period during the day, particularly the hot part of the day, and so that means that it's a sign that maybe, just maybe, she's thinking about getting up and moving. The other thing is that the sun has changed slightly, and that means that these lions are starting to get hit a little bit by it, and they probably might shift into the shade a little bit. So, Jan, you say you're glad the Ellies are going the other way because, well, you're worried about the little cubs and you want these little cubs to survive. Well, exactly. I think it's a situation where it's on both sides. At the end of the day, those elephants also have a small baby with them, and so lions could potentially be quite dangerous to a young baby elephant in a small herd. You might find that the lions try their luck, although the lions here in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, they don't really like to go after elephants too much. They know it's very dangerous, so the danger is more with the lions. At the end of the day, if these elephants did charge here, this could be a situation where something could happen. But you see both lionesses now yawning, both of them are putting their nose up. There's a wind that has just started to kick up, and so I wonder if they're not going to decide to start moving, and potentially we're going to see them maybe starting to go on an afternoon hunt. They are quite skinny, so they are looking as though they could go for food, and so maybe it's going to be a situation that they're going to decide to leave this area where these elephants are and start moving off and heading more towards where there's a possible food item. Now, I don't know, I thought I spotted something on the other side there that might be a antelope of some sort, but there is some antelope that are also on the other side where the elephants disappeared, so maybe they'll head in this direction. Now, Arbeard, you want to know, would the lioness fake charge at an elephant to be able to try and draw attention away from the cubs? Most certainly. So if those elephants came charging in, the lioness might be quite brave and to try and just get in front of the cubs and buy them some time to scatter and try and find a hiding place of their own. The cubs' instinct will be immediately is to run as soon as they see any sign of danger running at them. They'll watch their mother's body language, and if they see their mothers reacting, their immediate instinct is to run and to try and find a thicket somewhere to try and get in. The thing is, though, would be very interesting to see what the male lion's reaction would be, because there's a big male lion just off to our left-hand side who's sleeping in the bush, and with the elephants coming in and his cubs obviously being a part of this, he might also be quite brave and stand up, and that might be enough to turn the elephants and to get the elephants just to slow down and stop a little bit, and the pride can then lead all of these youngsters away. The thing is, though, also with this particular pride is that these Styx females, which is the pride that we're with, these three have been around for a long time. These are all fairly older lionesses, and so they would have dealt with elephants many times, and it's why it's amazing to watch them, because when the elephants were 150 meters away, the whole pride was down and sleeping and resting. But as soon as they got to a situation where the elephants started to come closer, the females immediately put their heads up, and they knew that they need to be far more alert now and be awake and watch what's going on. But I was saying just now that I did see an antelope species moving in the distance, so I'm not sure if they're going to start moving in this direction. Hopefully they will. I reckon that there might be some sort of action that will take place at some point this afternoon, so we're going to end our Facebook Live for now, or our action broadcast, should I say, and we're going to sit with this pride, and if anything does happen, we'll be sure to jump back in as soon as possible. But for now, I think we're just going to sit and wait it out and see how everything goes. Right, so that was our action broadcast. It didn't turn out quite the way I thought it would. I thought the Ellies might turn a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's okay. They at least have gone down to the water, and there are kudus and waterbuck that I think I can see in the distance, and so maybe these lionesses will get up and move again a bit later, and we might see some sort of interesting behavior out of them. But while we sit with the lions and see what they get up to, I believe Noelle has made her way towards Chitwa Dam, which should be a hive of activity in the beautiful afternoon heat like we're experiencing today. Well, there you go. You can see the Ellies are just going back now, so they have completely missed these lions by meters, and they have no idea the lions are here. Look, you can see the way that they're moving. They have not picked up those lions at all. So mother is leading her young calf away, and here at the back is a sub-adult. Now, it's interesting watching these lionesses because they're almost sort of second guessing this, because that's a fairly small elephant that is walking quite close here. They're kind of looking at it as if to say, well, I wonder if it was possible. And I reckon if we had more than just the 3 adult females and maybe one more or more of the Birminghams, there might be a situation when they might have actually tried their luck and maybe chased one of these elephants. It would be very, very, very unique, particularly in the Sabi Sands, because I haven't seen it in the Sabi Sands before with them actively chasing elephant herds. I've seen a situation where hyenas have chased elephant herds here in the Sabi Sands, but not lions yet. And a small pride, particularly like this, that has got lots of young cubs, I don't think that would be the case. But that elephant is not far at all. I would say in total, from where the lions are, we're looking at maybe 10, 15 meters, maybe a little bit more than that. But there it comes out. You see, it's right behind the lions, and the elephants have no idea that these lions are here. Now, you can imagine, look, you see the lioness is losing her nerve a little bit, which is scaring the cubs. You see the cubs are all going to get up, and they're going to follow the lionesses. So they've realized, hang on a second, something's not quite right. And so they know as soon as mom walks like that, it's time to get up and go. And so it's amazing how quickly they pick up on the cues and the little airs and graces of a female, and they'll all get up and move. The elephants obviously are moving in a different direction. Tinyo has finally woken up. Well, welcome to the party, Tinyo. A bit late, young man. He doesn't look too perturbed, does he? He's going to flop back down again over there. The good news is that it's at least the lions are starting to push northwards a little bit. So they, instead of going south, they are pushing northwards because of the Ellies going in this direction, which is great news for us. But there we go, as everybody's waking up. Once the Ellies are gone, I think we're going to see a situation where they'll head towards Twin Dams for a drink. Right, now that our Ellies are kind of moving southwards, I think we're going to sit, and like I say, with our lions for a little bit longer and just see where they head to. I think they might go for a drink, and while we do that, let's go back to Scotty D. He's got a view of those spotted cats in the Mara sunset. Amazing scene. We have literally been incorporated by the Styx Pride. I have lionesses all the way around me, little cubs approaching in every direction, and I can tell you that they are the cutest little things. They are naughty but super cute. Listen to that. Well, what do you want me to... I think it's a bit nervous about coming past this close to the car because the lionesses lay right in front of us. In fact, I don't even know if we'll be able to see her in front of the bonnet. That's how close she's laying next to the car. And I think this little one's a little bit kind of wary of this big hunking great piece of metal, and so it's calling to mom every now and then. And I can't move because I've got another lioness behind me and one of the sub-adults. They've all just come and lay all around us. It is really quite something. And the cubs are, I would say, at the moment within maybe 2 meters of where we are, and like I said, it's because mom is lying right in front of the car. She kind of came from quite a way away, and we were parked because they were all up on the termite mound. And look at this. You are naughty, all 4 of you. Look at you, naughty things. They're cute though. They're that naughty cute, that kind of cute that you just can't get enough of, and you want to just keep watching, even though they are being a little bit on the kind of naughty side and pulling at the tails of the older ones. And look at those claws already, isn't that amazing? So just because they're small doesn't mean they don't pack a punch. They've got those needle-like claws, big feet, these big brown eyes, and every stick is being bitten and chewed and given a really rough time, that's for sure. Now it sounds like some baboons have spotted them, because the baboons are busy alarm calling as well behind us. So there we go, there's the 4 of them. Come on guys, you guys. Well, I can't go anywhere because your mom is in front. So they want to come past, but there really is no way for them to go without going through some thickets. And unfortunately, mom is so close. Can I move there, Sens, or not? Now, I'm scared to move because they are as close as they are, but I'm just worried about the proximity of Mom in front. So what I was saying about Mom, if you have a look where she is, I don't know if it is her mother, but at least one of them, there she is right there. There's the other one, and the other one's to my right here. So I don't really have too many options at this stage. I've got not a lot of room to maneuver at this point. So there's the other one on my right hand side. So I've got in front, behind, on the right, and now on the left in the form of these little ones as well. And I think they'll eventually work it out. The sub-adults are completely not phased, and there is a little gap that they can go around, but they just don't want to push past a piece of grass. So what I think I'm going to do is just try and go back a little bit so that they can kind of find their way past, because at the end of the day I feel quite sorry for them, because they seem as though they're a little bit confused as to where they must go and why Mom would be lying so close to us. But aren't they cute? They are the cutest little fluff balls. Okay, little ones, I'm going to just move back a little bit for you, and then you'll have some space. Or have you figured out through the grass there? There's a little gap through the grass that they can go. If they just worm their way through, there we go. Are you going to make it? No. Okay, let's just go back slightly. Sorry, little ones. I didn't mean to give you a fright. I'm sorry. Just trying to make a space here because, like I say, Mom is lay so close to me that there's not much I can do. So I'm trying to just give them a little bit more of a gap that they can move. It's not ideal at all when Mom comes and lies like that, or at least one of the aunts, because as much as it's very cute to have them, I don't want to disturb them, and I don't want them to be nervous of us. At the end of the day, we always try and give them as much space as possible, and they were moving up the road, and that's why I parked here, because I didn't really want to be in their way. I thought they might come down for water, and I think because of the lack of shade where I am right now, that's why the adults just came and plonked down in the shade of the vehicle and decided this is where they're going to spend the afternoon. So it's not an ideal situation to have the little cubs that close, and I really normally don't want it, but you can see she's just calling to them to tell them it's okay, you guys can come, there's nothing to worry about. We're all okay and everything is just fine. The sub-adults, well, not sub-adults, but the other cubs are completely unperturbed by this. They all just flopped all over this termite mound at the moment and are looking absolutely regal up there. And it's amazing how big the older ones are getting now. There we go. Have we figured a way around? Yes, there we go. One by one they're coming. Well done, you clever little things. Ali, wondering if the male lion will teach the cubs how to hunt. Now, yes, they might learn something from the male lions, but generally they're watching more their mothers. The males will be with the pride a lot of the time, but not all the time, whereas moms are always going to be there, and moms are going to be the ones that they're really going to watch in order to hone their skills. So you're going to get a situation where their moms are going to see them and they're going to go, okay, that's where I need to go, that's who I need to follow to be able to find food, and so they're going to get a lot more teaching. But they will learn things from the male lions, most certainly. When somebody like Tinyo is part of the pride and they say they come across a buffalo, you will get a situation where Tinyo will go after a buffalo, let's say, and these little cubs will be watching and they'll learn from that. So yes, I suppose they do learn a little bit from the males, but most of their learning curve is from the females and their kind of movement and the way that they go about their business. But how cute are these little ones? There's nothing like a lion cub. I suppose leopard cubs are just as cute, but I find lion cubs far more vocal than leopard cubs. They seem to be far naughtier, and it's normally because there's more of them. You know, leopard cubs sometimes are little shy, reclusive things that there's only one or maybe two, and they tend to kind of keep to themselves and be a little bit nervous of the vehicles, whereas lion cubs, they almost are more brazen than the females because they've got the backing of all these bigger individuals. They feel like they can just do what they want, and they tend to be quite naughty. So I enjoy spending time with lion cubs. They are very cute animals. And Kirst agrees with me. Kirst, you agreement that lion cubs, oh, look at them, super cute. And Senzo apparently is for lion cubs too. I think there's not many people in this world that would be against seeing a lion cub. I mean, there's not really... yeah, like I say, if you don't like lion cubs, I think there's probably a few things you might need to go and check in at one of those hospitals for the brain, that's for sure, because if that doesn't evoke a little bit of happiness watching these guys biting sticks, biting each other, running up and down, the sighting that Noel had yesterday of them climbing all over Tinyo and biting his back and on his head, if that doesn't make you happy, well, there's very few things in this world. What are you doing? You can't eat your own tail, no. Did it not taste nice? It's almost as if to say, no, my tail didn't taste very good, I'm not going to do that again. And the other one's busy with a stick. So it's that time of the day. They've been resting all day. I think they've had enough of sitting down. It's now time to start playing. Yep, here we go. I think that's the best thing when they bound like that. I love their little bounding motion. It almost reminds me of little squirrels as they do. Right, now while our adventurer goes up and into the trees by the looks of things and does its best leopard impression. Oh, we stuck? No, I think we'll be alright. We'll get down eventually. And while it does its best leopard impression, I believe Noelle is on the move and driving around, and she managed to find something that, well, I think these lions would be very happy to be chasing after this afternoon. These three are being super cute. The tree has become the playground and everybody is jumping all over. But we're going to do an action broadcast, so I'm just going to keep quiet for a little bit before we get going. Well, welcome to our action broadcast, and we are still with our lions this afternoon, and they are being as cute could be. The little ones have woken up, and it is now time to bite, play, jump, and just go after every little thing that they can. They really are being highly entertaining. You can see they're up on a tree at the moment. One has stretched itself because it wants to get up there, but it just can't. And they don't have the dexterity of a leopard, and so everybody's kind of trying to worm their way up. Now, remember, you can ask questions because we are interactive, so just post your questions in the comment section below and we will get to as many questions as we can. But you'll see that they're still trying to hop about, and if they come down, then a stick is the next game. And soon, I would imagine, when the sticks are no longer fun, that the siblings will be involved, and then there will be mom and maybe even dad might get his turn to play with the cubs at some point. But how cute are these guys? There's one that's not with them at the moment. So I believe a lot of you are saying just how cute they are, and you oohing and eyeing. They are the cutest little things. Lion cubs have got to be one of my favorite small animals. They tend to be very busy things, particularly at this time of the day. And the sun is just starting to set now, and it is the perfect time for these guys to get going and to start playing and to do their last bit of activity before they probably are left on their own for the night and are left to kind of keep themselves safe while the adults go off hunting. How cute is this? Look at the size of those paws already at this age. So you can see that they're going to be massive when they get older, but they still are minute in comparison to the rest of them. And I think there's another one that's about to join the fray. So the fourth one has decided to lie down again, but that is just... It doesn't get any better than that. It is the most amazing thing to see. I love watching these guys, and especially when they playful like this. So, Stephanie, you're wondering how many cubs there are. There are 4 of these young ones that are about 3 months old. And then we have a few older cubs that are lying off to my left-hand side. And they're quite a bit older. So they're close to sort of 7 months old. And then there's some that are slightly older than that are around 10, 11 months. So there's some of the older cubs that are lying on the termite mound, just watching over what's going on. And then you've got the moms in front and the little ones climbing all over the place on the stumps and tree branches. So, Ivan, you're wondering about the survival rates of lion cubs. It depends on the area that they are in. So, obviously, there's different places will have different densities of both lion, leopard, hyenas, and all kinds of other things that are dangerous to little lion cubs. Here in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, we tend to find that our lion cubs have about a 30 to 40% survival rate. So, every sort of 3 to 4 out of 10 will survive into adulthood. And it also depends largely on the amounts of males that are moving around. The Sabi Sands in the last few years has had a lot of male coalitions moving through, and that meant that none of the cubs have really had a chance to actually survive, because as a new male lion coalition comes through, you'll find a situation where the cubs are killed, and that brings the females back into estrus. And so a lot of the cubs have been killed, and that's lowered the rate within the Sabi-San system over the last few years. But if we get a solid system like we've got now, we've got 4 dominant males over this area, and they're still fairly young and are doing a great job of keeping this area safe and have got not too much competition, then we should see a much higher success rate with these cubs going forward in this particular area. So time will tell, but generally about 30 to 40% of the cubs will make it to adulthood, which is not a very high ratio. The thing is, though, is at that size, you know, they've already gotten past the most dangerous period, which is when they're first born. That's when they're still blind, they're not able to do anything, and they are left alone for long periods of time. Now they spend a lot of time with the pride. The females come back to them a lot, they spend time with them, and they're even moving around with them a bit at night. Megan, yes, the cubs have noticed the vehicles. We've been with them most of the afternoon, and they've been all around us, and they've kind of learning from their mom. So their fear is probably not to come near a car or a vehicle, but because of a situation where mom is so relaxed, you can see mom is sleeping, she's not worried about us, that means that she's completely, well, the cubs are completely happy to be around as well. As soon as they see their mom, they take their visual cues from their mothers, and they'll say, okay, mom is relaxed, then I can be relaxed. If mom changes her persona and changes her way, and if she gets into a position where she's looking defensive or agitated, so the cubs will pick that up fairly quickly. And we saw it a little bit earlier because we had some elephants around, and the females all got up, and the cubs watched those females and quickly scattered off with the little cubs as well. So it's amazing just to see how they take their cues from mom at this age. Now that one has decided no more biting of the tree. It's now time just to rest and take it very easy. The others, I think, are going to try and see if they can get a little bit of food. Now mom is just swatting them away, so what you'll see is they'll come in and they're going to try and suckle a little bit, and they'll do their best maneuver to try and woo mom. So they'll groom her, they'll kind of squeak a little bit and be like, mom, please, I'm so hungry. And look. And you'll find that if she doesn't want to suckle them, she's just going to push them away with her feet. Can you hear that though? It's so cute. They make the coolest sounds, little lion cubs. They just squeak, particularly when they're hungry. They'll try and squeak and try and make a little bit of noise in order to be able to kind of beg mom to be able to give her their milk. It's not winning though, and so now it's back to go and play around rather on the tree. That seems like far more fun than having to beg mom for milk. So cute. There we go, there's mom, she's up and looking as well. We're right next to a waterhole, and it's just starting to cool off now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get a few animals coming down to drink, and that's maybe why they're looking up. The wind is starting to blow a little bit, and that also means that there might be a bit of a scent on the air that this female may be picking up, and that's why she stood up. And the cubs will be completely oblivious to all of that. They're not going to be worried at all about what scent is on the air. As long as mom is around, it's time to explore and have as much fun as is possible. There we go. Going to flop down next to Aunt now. So, Darlene from New Hampshire, you say that these lionesses are probably loving the fact that the cubs have found themselves a branch to play with, rather than abusing their mothers and their aunts. And it must be tough work to look after 4 of these guys. They are up and down and busy all the time. And they definitely have sharp little claws and teeth. So when they decide it's time to play, and they'll bite and they'll kind of go after mom's tail and her ears and hang off her, it must be really quite painful. So I'm sure they're very glad when the cubs find things to occupy themselves rather than to actually have to entertain these little ones on their own accord. Now you may hear a vehicle starting up in the background. That's just people that are here from holiday. So there's obviously people that come out on safari, and they've come out from various parts of the world to be able to see these little cubs and are fortunate to be spending time with them. Now there's one of the young individuals who's going to come past us just on our left hand side. So this is one of the older cubs that's going to come past. In fact, this is one of the oldest cubs that we have in the pride. Now this is the one that is about 10 months old now, and you'll see they're going to just come past the car. They're still a little wary of the front of the vehicle, but because we're not moving, you can see not too worried now, and they're going to go past and lie down. I wouldn't be surprised the cubs maybe come and start playing a little bit as well. They like their older siblings. You'll find a situation where they go after their older siblings and will tug on their ears as well, and the older siblings will also play with them. And it's vitally important that these cubs do this. So climbing on the branches, biting, playing with mom, playing with their siblings is all valuable lessons for later in life when they're going to be hunting, defending themselves, trying to fight off things like hyenas. They're going to have to use all these skills that they'll learn by doing all of these kind of things. So it is very important that they do this, and that they explore and as much as possible and learn from their little mistakes when they do. But there is, like I say, not much cuter than that right there. Are you going to go higher for us? Let's see. And yes, there goes the back legs. I think we might go a little bit higher, getting braver now. And you can see they're not very good climbers. Lions have this reputation that they can't climb trees. They can. It's just that they're not very good at it. So you'll find a situation where the little cubs will kind of practice, and because they're still quite small, they're fairly mobile around these fallen over trees. But lionesses and male lions are so bulky that coming down from a tree once climbed is a lot more difficult. That stick looks good, doesn't it? This is the cutest thing. Look at the size of the feet already, though. You can see those feet almost as big as its head, and they will grow into those eventually. You can see sharp little claws as well, and those will be utilized to full effect later in their lives. So once they get a little bit older and they start participating in hunts, obviously those claws are going to be vitally important for the survival. Now it seems as though the rest of the pride is slowly starting to file past us now, and will probably head down towards the females and lie down as well. But it has been an absolutely wonderful afternoon with these guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed every minute of the little cubs climbing and playing and all kinds of other things. I hope that all of you have too. We're going to probably continue our safari a little bit longer and see what else happens, and if anything does begin to take flight and any animals do come down for a drink, we'll certainly see you again on another one of our action broadcasts. Right, well, that was as cute could be, and they're still continuing to be cute, so I'm not going to go anywhere. We're going to just enjoy this cute show for as long as we possibly can, and while we do that, I believe Noelle has been very busy while we've been on Facebook Live, and she's managed to find a rather big, scary kitty of her own. Well, hopefully he does roar, because that might spark the rest of these guys to roar with Tinyo. I don't know if it will. I think Tinyo might kind of keep it to himself. I don't think he wants any more competition at this pride. He's got enough, not too many females to deal with on his own, and the other boys being here would just complicate things. But you never know, maybe he will, and might trigger even the females to do it. And sometimes if you're really lucky, the little cubs even try and squeak along with the roar. It's the most amazing thing. Now they've had a little feed, and so it seems as though there's going to be a little bit more energy expended. Yep, there we go. Now poor mom, who is trying to have a nap, there's no chance. She's now got tail across her eyes. She's that can only be from a cub, and mom can only be the one that would allow that to happen. It's amazing how tolerant she is of them. You can see she just kind of shrugs it off and doesn't even really do anything about it. I've seen a lot of the mothers get a little bit more grumpy than this, and like I say, they must be heavy with sharp claws and can't be comfortable when they climb around all over the place. But I suppose it is such as a mother's love that they are tolerant and look after their young ones and allow these kind of things to take place. But how cute is this that we even get to see them kind of suckling. The angle that we've got, you can actually see the little teats in the mouth of that one. Hello, little one. What you watching? The Egyptian geese flying over. How cute was that? It's just birds, little ones. You'll be fine, don't worry. But like I say, you can actually see them suckling from the teats. It's quite amazing to be able to see, kind of the teats in the mouth. It's not often you get that kind of view, because normally the angle dictates that you don't really see much. You either see their eyes and their ears, or you actually just see their backs of their heads. So it's... oh. What are you two doing? No, Mom is now closing the gate. That poor little one is trapped. Ah, there we go. Mom's leg is heavy. And now I think it's time for more stick games as well. There's going to be a little bit of that. Even the tail is in for a bit of trouble. If she moves her tail, I feel like that little one might just latch on and start grabbing and pulling at it. Although it seems as though everybody is getting rather sleepy at this stage, except for that one. No one's decided. Stick game is still on, and it's time to play and time to chew and time to go crazy and bite and maim any stick that is possibly around. And this is all because they'll be starting to teeth, so they, the teeth are coming out, and they really are kind of, it's a new thing for them. They want to be able to bite and chew and ease that irritation that they have got. So you'll find them doing it a lot at this age, that sticks and any sort of things that are quite soft. Sometimes they'll even try and go after the mud flaps on a vehicle. I've seen little cubs grab those and run off with them. Hot water bottles in winter is a cub's favorite chew toy as well. So if people drop those from the vehicles, because some of the lodges will give hot water bottles, then you find the cubs just go after that. So anything soft and chewy is perfect game for these little guys. Now, I believe all of you are still loving every second of this. Well, it is amazing. It's been a long time that we haven't had lions, and you know, in the last 2 drives, we've been just so spoiled by having these youthful little cubs again. It's amazing how much joy small animals can bring, and in fact, maybe let's not even quantify that in lions. It's just in small animals in general. We've had just the most amazing time over the last 3 weeks with baby animals, from our little plover chicks to baby crocodiles, baby hippos, young lions, Tundi on a den. There's just so many little things that have really given us a lot of joy and a lot of kind of cute factor, which is always needed in life. I think a lot of the time our lives are so serious, and we get into a situation where we get so bogged down with, you know, the worries and the bad things in life, that it's amazing to actually sit and enjoy something like this, where there's a little cute side of it and a little bit more, well, less to worry about in the world. Right, our little ones will continue to play. I highly doubt it's going to end anytime soon, and while they continue to play and pull each other by the bum, let's go across to Noel, who's got apparently a beautiful visual of a male lion strolling towards her. Just absolute chaos with these little ones. They are bullying and playing and and jumping on everyone. You can see the technique is already there to run up alongside, jump on the back, use the paw to try and trip. That is all part of the technique when they're going to be hunting. So they've already got that. And this little one in particular is being naughty. It's going to every single one and biting them. Look, you can see it's kind of grabbing them, and then it gets them by their head, and there's claws, and how can you not enjoy something like this? It's just the most magical thing to see. But I think the pride is about to get up and move. I think the cubs are going to be left here again. It looks like the females are starting to move northwards now. They're sharpening their claws on some of the trees. Look at this one stalking. Look. So it's getting itself nice and low. Oh, I think one of the sub-adults is ruining it. It's trying to stay stealthy. Look. You're not being too stealthy out in the open, little one. Everyone can see you. But it's going to try. Let's see if it's going to stalk forward. Look how it's trying to move its paws slowly. Look. You see it's trying to place them gently. And I might see it just come running and jumping onto the other one. Nope. It's decided that we're just rather going to use blunt force trauma today and just jump on each other and bite each other instead. That's far better. And I think they know that it's this time that mom and aunts are starting to wake up and thinking about getting going, and that their time of playing and running around and picking on everybody is getting shorter and shorter, and that soon they are going to be left. Now, Tinyo, no idea where he is. By the looks of things, he's still sleeping all the way back where we first started and hasn't moved a single muscle since we've been with him. So hopefully he'll come and catch up this side. Whether he's going to vocalize, I don't think so. I think you'll get a situation where he's going to be quite quiet. Like I said, I don't think he really wants to attract too much attention to himself and tell his brothers where he is, and with all of these females and cubs and things, I think he'd rather keep this to himself and move around with them. And hopefully also, I'm sure he is hoping that these females are successful in terms of food and are able then to get some sort of a meal out of it. You know, these male lions, particularly the Birminghams, they love to snack off everybody else's hard work, as well as obviously do their own. I've just seen them a lot on kills from other lions. It's not to say that they're not good hunters, because Birminghams are probably some of the best male lion coalition hunters that I've seen, particularly with buffalo. They are incredible. When the 5 of them were together, it was amazing to watch them go about killing buffalo and taking over. So it's amazing to see, and hopefully we'll see a situation where the 4 of them will come back together again, particularly if we get more buffalo in the area. If we start to see a lot of buffalo, hopefully that will mean these 4 do come back together and that they start hunting them together again, because it is amazing to watch those guys as they go about their business. You're wondering if the little ones are going to hide when the adults are gone? I would imagine so, yes. I would imagine you'll find them kind of just going into a little bit of a grassy area, maybe a termite mound, a bush somewhere, and they'll kind of find themselves some little thicket that they're able to kind of get into a situation where they can just hide away if something does come past. Normally what you find, though, is that with lions in particular, is that they normally kind of put them, leopard as well, they put them somewhere safe. So they'll take them to a bush or a thicket or a fallen over tree or a termite mound. But I was watching yesterday with Noel and just to see that they kind of left them out in the open. Maybe it was because Tinyo was still here, but you know, I was surprised. I would have thought they would have left them somewhere a little thicker, maybe down in the Mulawati, off Twin Dams, just somewhere where there are some places that the little ones can go hide if anything does come past. At the end of the day, this area that we're in is an area that has got a lot of different animals moving around in it. We see a lot of, you know, leopards here. We know that there's elephants around. There's hyenas that come back and forth, and so it doesn't seem like the safest place just to leave these little ones out and about. So I'm pretty sure these cubs, as soon as they see the parents disappearing, they're going to have a situation where they're going to try and go and hide themselves. Now, one of the other sub-adults has arrived, and they're kind of watching the sub-adults and are going down in that way. So I'm just going to try and get out the way, but there you go. So I think it's time to go and pick on that sub-adult. They're like a little gang, this lot. They all come together and off they go, and they kind of will tackle the problem as a unit by the looks of things. Of course, it's all just bonding. I'm just joking around, but they kind of come together, and then it's all forge forward to go and play. And that sub-adult or the other cub is about to get a whole bunch of lions all over it. It's cute though. How wonderful. Now, I know I love leopards and I love spending time with leopards, but a sighting like this is really just very special, and we've been spoiled because it has been a hot afternoon, and I didn't expect too much activity out of these guys, but we've had a wonderful kind of start, from chasing warthogs to elephants in between, and now just full-on games towards the end of the evening. It's just been a wonderful time with them. Right, well, our little ones are still playing. Females are grooming, starting to look like they're going to get up and move. So I wonder if they're going to head north and maybe join up with Noel's male lion, who sounds like is still striding southwards in our... Well, they are having a little drink. It's just two of them. It's not the whole pride. I was hoping that the whole pride would come and we'd get this long line of them all kind of in a half moon shape around the edge. But it's okay. It's still nice to see a bit of a reflection. And they're going to go back up. It sounds like Tinyo has now joined the fray and is starting to move a little bit as well. So what I'm going to do from here, once this little one is finished, is probably move up. In fact, I think it's finished already. So I was actually going round when I saw these two coming down and thought it would be a good idea just to spend a bit of time with them. But it sounds like Tinyo is also moving in that general direction. So let's just go back to where I wanted to go, and we'll catch up with the rest of them, and hopefully Tinyo himself as well as he comes round. Joy, you're wondering why they're called the Styx Pride. Well, the Styx name comes from an area on Mala Mala. So Mala Mala has various sections to it, and one of those sections is called Styx Farm or Styx area, and the Pride used to be very resident in that particular portion, and that's why they got the name the Styx Pride. So it's all just from an area that they're from, and why they chose the name Styx in terms of for their area, I'm not quite sure. A lot of the farm names, or the names of the sort of subdivided sections of the Sabi Sands, all have these older kind of names. So you've got places like Ravenscourt, Alliscott, Wallingford, Ottawa, Marthley, Styx, Fairfield, Flockfield. There's lots of different names for them, and so Kingston, and so it's all quite sort of older names that have been given to a number of these little farms that are in this area that compromise, or that make up the sort of the Sabi Sands area, and so that's where the name comes from. And the Birmingham is the exact same thing. So obviously Birmingham's is from the Timbavati region, and there's an area there called Birmingham, and that's where they come from. So there we go. There's the rest of the Pride. They're all kind of grooming now. I think it's the last kind of bits of washing up and getting themselves going before they decide to start moving. The good thing is, though, is that their movement is generally northwards, which means that they're going deeper into Djuma once again, much like what we saw last night, and hopefully it will mean that tomorrow morning they will be back in this area. Hopefully they leave the cubs this section, they go northwards, they go and hunt and are successful, and then come back down here, and we'll have a situation where we'll see them taking their cubs to maybe a meal. That would be quite nice, wouldn't it? I think that would be a really wonderful thing to see. Now you can see the bonds between these lions, even though they've been kind of sleeping and they all have got a little bit of mange and things, there's still this grooming process that takes place, and this is vitally important, especially when out heading on a hunt. This is all part of bonding, making sure that when they are hunting that everybody knows who's who. And you see even the adult females, they all go up to one another, make sure that they just bump heads. A little bit of grooming might take place between the two of them as well, and that's all just to solidify when they're hunting that they know who's who and how to kind of do things when they are on the hunt. The older cubs now will be joining and probably walking at night with them. I did see some of their tracks with the Styx Pride this morning when we were up near where Shadow had her kill yesterday, and so They are already walking. It's just the little ones at this stage and the middle ones that tend to get left behind. But the older cubs seem to be walking with the pride fairly regularly now. But how cool is that? It's just a long line of grooming cubs and adults. Spoilt is what we've been today, that's for sure. The lions have really treated us. They have not been lazy and sleepy like they sometimes can be in warm days. I mean, they did sleep for quite some time, but they've been fairly mobile for most of the afternoon, which has been pretty nice to see and surprising, like I say, for this time of the year. Generally, November, you find a situation where the lions start to only wake up at this time, but today they've been fairly up and down all over the place. Now, Chris, sorry, you just broke up a little bit. If you can just repeat that for me. Monique, you're wondering if it's just the one lioness that's lactating now? No, so two of them are lactating. One heavily and the other one starting to wean off now. So it's the two that are lying down at the moment. This lioness that's walking towards us, I think, is the one that's not lactating, which is the older lioness. She's the one that's not at the moment, but the other two are lactating. And I was actually watching the tiny cubs. They went to both lionesses and suckled off both of them. And so there is a situation where they are producing milk, both of the individuals. I think one more so than the other one. Here we go, just lying down. Hello, girl. It's amazing also how they just haven't worried about us today. There's Tinyo all the way in the background, sitting looking as elegant as ever on his termite mound. Still sleepy. He doesn't look as though he's too interested in moving and actually doing too much this afternoon. He seems as though he's quite fine with sitting in the background and watching the rest of the pride move. But here we go. All three females are now up. Or two females, should I say, are up. And I wonder if this is going to entice the third one to get going. Amazing, though. She walks. It's incredible. This particular female seems to have no worry for the vehicle at all. You can see him. She's walking right there. It's literally right behind me at the moment. So amazing to kind of watch her as she goes and kind of see how close she actually walks to the vehicles. It's not really like that normally. I mean, the Angama pride do walk close, but they generally, if they can, will walk on the road, not straight towards where we are. So quite interesting just to see the movement of these guys. But little cubs are definitely being left behind, and females are off and on to hunting, I think, for the evening. So everybody's starting to move slowly but surely. Now, it's just coming to that time of the day, unfortunately, where we are starting to wrap things up. It's just a gentle reminder for tomorrow morning that there is the time change still in effect. So we will be getting started at 5 o'clock CAT. So it will be a little bit earlier, half an hour earlier than what we have been over the last few days. So don't forget to set your clocks accordingly. And hopefully it's going to be a wonderful morning, because if anything's to go by this afternoon and the fact that the pride is moving north, we're in for an absolute treat for tomorrow morning's drive. Now, like I say, unfortunately, that's all for this afternoon. We haven't got too much time left, so I'm sure from Taylor and Scott, who finished a little bit earlier, I'm sure they send their best, and myself and Noel and Senzo and Jandre and all the Camops, as well as Kirsty and FC. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you all tomorrow morning on the Sunrise Safari.